Welcome to The Hustle with Ben Anderson, highlighting a series of inspirational success stories with celebrities, entrepreneurs, athletes, and industry-leading professionals. Ben has learned and mastered the art of the hustle, which has allowed him to become a top 20 USA loan originator and the #1 mortgage and real estate finance coach in America, who has closed more than $3 billion in real estate finance transactions. So sit back, listen, and learn with the Loan King about money and mortgage.
Welcome to The Hustle with your host, myself, Ben Anderson, and today we are actually going to hustle as we work. So I am on location in Manhattan on a hot Friday, and it's all worth it because I get to spend time with my great new friend, Mr. Fortgang. Talk about a name that should be on the side of a movie trailer. Max Fortgang. When I die and I come back in this world, I want your name.
You should meet my brother Rex, man. Let me tell you.
I'm telling you, you guys, your parents did something right.
Yeah, they definitely got creative with it, but happy to be here.
Happy to have you.
Happy to share the hustle.
Happy to hustle with you.
Yes.
And so we're here to talk about hustle in general, and it's only fitting that we're trying to set a Guinness Book record, and you will take us over the top, and you have brought me some delicious treats today.
I have.
And I'm going to go ahead, if you don't mind, and partake because your company called MatchaBar. And this is going to be a replacement for all of the non-healthy, acidic, sugar-based energy drinks that end up pumping you up but bringing you down.
Totally.
So as I go through this record-setting performance with you, I'm going to try it. And as I go through our time together, how long it takes, I'll just tell you how I feel.
Perfect. That's we tell every customer or anybody that tries the product to really pay attention to how they feel, because we got into this because not just the amount of energy in matcha, which is around actually the same as like a coffee espresso energy drink, but it's the quality of the energy in matcha and how it actually works for you.
And it tastes really, I would say, refreshing and light, but with a hint of green juice in there.
Amazing.
Because sometimes, I'll order these nectar green juices and they're a little heavier.
Yeah.
This is like a light green.
Totally. So it's clean energy, and it's plant-based energy. And matcha is so special in the tea world because they actually grind the leaves down into a very small particulate, and you're actually consuming the whole leaf. So it's not like the steeping process that you go through with most like iced teas. You're actually consuming the leaf itself, which gives you that really amazing clean leafy taste.
So for all of us that have not been to Starbucks and have seen their matcha menu,
yeah,
matcha is the new thing. It's like the chia,
yes, but
it's a new chia.
Yes.
So
yes.
For all those who are about to learn, what is matcha?
So matcha comes from the green tea plant, right? And they just take very, very specific steps in the harvesting process and the pre-harvesting process to make sure those leaves that they end up grinding and making into matcha are very, very nutrient rich. So they shade grow all of the leaves for a few months before the harvest. That actually tricks the leaves into thinking they're not getting enough sunlight. So they actually produce more chlorophyll to become more efficient, And in that process, the chlorophyll is where all the nutrients, the L-theanine, the caffeine, and the antioxidants are located. So these leaves are like souped up green tea leaves. If you so green tea leaves on steroids or something. And then they go through the plant and they only take the top, I guess maybe like foot or so of the actual green tea leaf, and they use that to actually make matcha. So they're basically hand selecting all the most nutrient-rich leaves off that plant that have grown in the shade growing process, and that goes right into matcha. So it's more complicated of a process than just a green tea, and that's why it's such a special product, and that's why they take so much care to make it.
So let's back up, because you don't just, what you just said is not the first time you said it. You've obviously put some work into your business, and you're an entrepreneur, and I want to highlight the fact that you're a very successful business owner. Let's back up to you're born and raised in New York, in Manhattan. Mm-hmm. So tell us your story. Like, where did you all begin?
Yeah, so I think that our relationship with energy in a city like New York is very specific. And looking back, you obviously, life happens and you go the way you go. But looking back, it's very clear that my brother and co-founder Graham and I had a very interesting relationship to energy from a very early age. First of all, we're both helplessly addicted to the city, and it's because of the energy in the city. So that's like definitely part of it. But New Yorkers hustle. That's why we called our energy drink, our matcha drink, the hustle.
Not just called it, you trademarked it.
I trademark. Yeah, the good things come to those who hustle, which is still one of my claim to fames. And in that process, we saw of just growing up and being a kid, like running around the streets over here, we saw the rise of Starbucks in the city. We saw the rise of like third wave coffee. And it's because everybody, energy is a universal language. In New York, people really need it to get through what we like to call their hustle. And that's, where the name was born. So people are like, working harder than they probably should. And they need, a power source to get them from A to B. And that, started with, seeing lines out the door at Starbucks, seeing my dad's relationship to coffee. He was a business owner himself and operator, and I saw his relationship to coffee at an early age, and we were like, what is this? Like, why are all these like adults that we think are cool like lining up for this product? And then we saw the rise of like Red Bull and Monster and Amped and all these things, and how much those products were launched in New York and proliferated through the city, and we just got pretty obsessed with it, to the point where we may have started drinking coffee and energy drinks a little too early.
So let's timeline this a little bit for perspective.
Yeah.
About what age are you going through this awareness?
Yeah, so I think being fascinated with energy and the sources that people were choosing for energy probably went back till we were like, really little, like 5, but we probably started picking up some of these products at like 14, 15, like not when my parents would probably have like wanted us to be, getting a nice coffee or whatever. But in New York, like you don't really have, the backyards and stuff. You have the park, but you have spaces that this whole city is really built for adults, right? So the spaces you can occupy as a kid
Or adult spaces.
Are adult spaces. So it's like cafes, but you can't go to the bars or the clubs and like all the adult stuff, the real adult stuff, but you can go to the cafes, you can go to movie theaters and stuff like that. So we were frequenting, like Starbucks and like, those different, like those early third wave coffee joints, probably from like 15, 16 onward, as soon as we started like having our, summer jobs and, doing our own hustle. And by like, I guess, college age, Graham was like 21, 22, I was like 23, 24, we're 2 years apart. We were pretty heavily on the, 2 to 3 cold brews, maybe a Red Bull to cram for exams kind of path. And at a certain point we were like, damn, this is not a sustainable way to go for us, especially the Red Bull stuff. The coffee, I think different people experience it differently. For me, it's a little too intense, a little too jittery, a little too much anxious energy, not enough zen. But the Red Bull stuff was like, when we got into that stuff, it was like, oh, something's got to change over here. We can't just be like, crunching 3 Red Bulls and going to the library.
You can't live that way.
You can't, it's no way to live.
You can't sustain.
The sugar, everything else that's in there, the chemicals, you end up, trying to push yourself forward, but you end up feeling more depleted.
So let me just stop you. I feel like I'm drinking a healthy espresso.
Yeah.
I'm getting the same kind of pickup right now, which I need.
100%.
But I feel like I'm drinking like a shot at a juice bar.
Yeah.
So just wanted to interject.
Yeah, no, I think that's the really cool like space that we operate. And I actually think that part of the reason matcha was able to catch on is because the juice movement kind of preceded it. Like we launched the company 4.5 years ago. I think Juice Press came onto the scene like, maybe like 7 or 8 years ago. I'm not sure exactly. But first of all, the flavor profile, which people started getting used to with the green juices. And then second of all, just the color. Carrying around a green drink was not a thing that you did when I was growing up.
No, it wasn't.
And people just getting used to that and seeing it and getting comfortable with it. We actually attribute a lot of the accessibility to that juice movement.
So I want to talk about the next step forward. So you guys are in your 24, 22 age range. You're like, we just got to change. We can't be having Red Bulls. We'll burn out in 5 years.
Totally.
What was the next? How did you discover the next sort of thing?
Yeah, so I was going to the Claremont colleges in the LA area, in Claremont, and I moved back to finish my education at NYU. And Graham was actually entering his freshman class at NYU at the same time, so we kind of had this like reuniting brothers thing.
Did you guys become roommates again, or
we did not?
No.
But we were hanging out all the time, and one of our brotherly, let's reconnect and share what's been going on in the last 2 years. I mean, he was a junior and senior in New York in high school. I had been a freshman and sophomore. There was a lot going on for both of us, and we had a lot of fun stories to share and all that good stuff. So one of our little traditions that we developed to just like spend some time was to kind of together try to level up in some capacity and break some bad habits that we had developed in those years. And one of those was Red Bull and, just an over-reliance on caffeine. So we started meeting up at different tea bars in the city, mostly like more on the traditional side, and just exploring the world of tea. Our thinking was like, tea's the world's most consumed beverage. There are a lot of countries out there that, one way or the other are healthier, than our country, especially with their relationship to energy. Let's go into the tea world and see if we can find a solution. Find a product. We weren't thinking, to start a business or anything like that at the time.
Did either you have any entrepreneurial mentors or experts or business guidance? Because it seems like two students just having the idea to start a tea business is out of left field.
Yeah, so we didn't start that early. When he was like 18 and I was 20, that's when we started our like tea exploration. So from there, basically we started drinking the product, and it was like our like little secret weapon, right? We were like both super into it, and we would tell our friends about it, bring it to parties. We would Graham was actually really entrepreneurial from a very early age. He turned his NYU community into a business by like throwing events and really producing events around the city, some of which he was actually too young to actually attend himself. Not that was a barrier, but he would be 18 throwing 21 plus events. He figured it out. And we would even like do like matcha cocktails instead of like Red Bull, vodka, things at the bar. This was when we were kind of advancing a little bit. And we got to the point where we were kind of becoming known as like these Matcha Brothers that were like pushing this, green elixir thing. And I think that's probably when we started thinking like, we have already kind of like have a reputation around this. Like maybe there's something there. And we actually believed in the energy because we were kind of our own target demographic, and we were using it to power like everything that we did. So I think that is when like some sort of light bulb came on, and we were like, you know what? The energy from this is unlike anything we've ever felt. We were like doing these little experiments where we'd start off in the morning, each have a matcha, check back in at the end of the day, be like, how did you feel? Did you cave and go and get a cold brew or something? And we both would come back and be like, I don't know what this is. I don't know why it's making me feel this way, but this is actually the best energy I've ever felt. And then so we started doing our research, finding out exactly what it was in matcha that made you feel the way we were feeling. And then realized that nobody really knew about what this is. Obviously, there's a huge Japanese American community in New York, and in those circles, matcha was known, but it wasn't. It was more of a cultural product and a cultural heritage thing than had ever been taken to commercial. So you could go to like a traditional Japanese tea shop and get a really nice matcha, but to get it like on the go in 3 minutes, a la a Starbucks, nowhere to be found. And it was really being used for like its delicate flavor profile and stuff, instead of just being seen for the function of energy.
It's crazy. You guys are like the inventors you didn't make the plant,
Not at all.
but you're like the inventors of matcha.
Well, we'd like to think we were helpful in causing the start of like the wave that now is, the matcha movement.
And it's better for you. And it's interesting that you guys had been seeking energy at such a young age because of the city you grew up in and because of you guys getting into little coffee bars and then you guys reconnecting and needing to get through your day because of the hustle and bustle.
Yeah.
And just what you did became who you were.
Totally.
Just totally ironic.
Yeah. No, it's really funny, and I don't think that anybody. It's a thing that you couldn't be able to predict.
No
but
way.
One of those things that when you look back on it, it kind of makes sense.
It does.
In like a very strange
me hearing
way.
this story, it was like almost like, okay, I would have seen this coming had I had known the ending in the beginning. I
Right?
could fill the middle in.
You could kind of fill the middle in,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
But two kids from New York picking up a ancient Japanese tea and popularizing it in New York. It's not a
not how you write it up, right?
100%.
So how did you guys then, because you guys hadn't had any business ownership experience.
No.
So how did you guys start to turn this into an actual viable commercial product?
So Graham, I told you Graham had a background in music and event production, and event production is really building a community and a following that will attend all your events, even if you're just like producing, promoting on a small scale in New
Show
York.
up.
You get people to show up, right? So he brought that in a marketing aspect to the table, because at the end of the day, you have, to get people to show up to the party, you have to market it in a way that like really speaks to people and people can relate to, and develop like almost like a signature aesthetic that people can gravitate towards and be like, oh, those are those guys, I'm gonna hit that one.
Yes.
And I was working in food service from like 16 onward. I thought when I was a little kid, I thought it was really cool to have a job, because none of my friends did, and I could have some extra money, and I'd be like kind of. I was connecting with the older people that worked there. I just thought it was the coolest scene. And I always gravitated to food service stuff. And then my college background was in, I was working at art galleries and museums in my early 20s. So I kind of brought the
creative,
the creative aspect, and also like curating experiences like you do in a restaurant or a cafe or any space. And Graham brought the marketing power. And then, once we kind of developed the business concept a bit, we brought in another, our first employee to really handle the numbers, because that was actually the part that neither of us really had the academic background or really experience doing. I worked from food service from like 16 all the way to about, I'd say 21, 22 in different capacities, obviously taking breaks when I, was getting gigs in the art world or like whatever it was. But,
right.
It's hard to break into the art scene in general, especially when you don't even have your undergrad. And, and it's not always paid work. A lot of internships, a lot of like, oh, I'll help you out to get experience, But I was always supplementing that with like, jobs, either serving,
Hustle.
Bartending, and
grind.
barista up and down the city.
So once you guys get a partner or an employee that can kind of actually crunch it into a spreadsheet in Excel and a viable workflow, what did you guys do with the idea then?
So then we pretty much created a business plan, and Graham and I had both saved him from his hustle, me from mine.
I feel amazing right now.
That's what
I mean, I've been up since about,
I love that.
Literally, I went to bed at 2 to 2:30 to 3. I've been up since 5 o'clock, and I feel like I just woke up.
How much have you drank, if you don't mind me
I'm
asking?
probably about 2/3 through.
2/3 through, okay,
Yeah.
cool. Amazing.
The first third got me to feel like, oh, I'm feeling nice.
I'm feeling something.
The second third got me to feel like amazing. So the last third, I just can't wait.
Yeah, 100%.
Santa Claus is coming to town. All right, so keep going. I didn't cut you off.
No, where even was
We're talking about you got the numbers together.
yeah. Okay,
Let's
cool.
make some money.
So I went 33, and once we really put the business together, in the model, we asked Papa Fortgang,
Yeah.
the big man that kind of showed us the way to actually.
Let me
own and
stop.
operate
Where's
a business.
Fortgang come from? I mean, what's your guys'? Because that name is
It's actually Austrian, so it's like Austria-Hungary
Nice.
area. And it's actually in German. It means to progress or to walk forward, which I always thought was really cool.
All right,
How do you get cool?
let's walk forward through that path.
But yeah, so we like put the business plan together. Obviously, like with any, especially like startup business plan, it ends up probably costing you like 3 times more than you actually were expecting. Always. And that's like a rule that now I adhere to whenever we launch a new product or like really try to do anything. But I hadn't really learned that. So we put it together and we had to be really scrappy. We didn't pay ourselves for the first like almost, I think it was 12 or 13 months that we just like didn't pay ourselves. We opened up a cafe in Williamsburg on North 10th and Wythe, right in the heart of Williamsburg, and the smorgasbord scene was going down on Kent. The Wythe Hotel was over there, Brooklyn Bowl. There was the whole like Output, Verboten club scene. Both of those clubs are now closed now, which kind of is telling about we've actually been in this for kind of a long time. And we kind of opened up like in like this sort of youth nightlife-y center of Brooklyn at the time. This is in 2013-14. And so we opened doors in 2014, and it's also like that was the time, and Williamsburg's still amazing, just to like a little more saturated, but it was becoming like a real foodie like hub for people.
And Brooklyn kind of exploded around that time.
Totally
It's
exploded.
just timing, I'm assuming, it just was perfect.
Perfect. And I think for our product especially, people looking for different solutions. We had Vice Media upstairs in an office above ours basically. It's like 500 captive audience, taste-making age group, also like writing about popular culture, like all coming into the cafe. And it was kind of this like perfect storm where we had like a product that really could speak to something. It's not like, just like a sweet, fun, tasty thing. It's like something with a real function, and people like gravitated towards that.
So when did you guys feel, because you've been on the Forbes list for your product, you guys have sold multi-millions of cans.
Yeah, which is so crazy.
Which is crazy that you were buying coffee, now you're selling multi-millions of these cans. So it's obviously working. Like you said, it's functional.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't functional, people wouldn't be buying it over and over again, because there's only 8 million people in the city. So to be selling that many cans, you have a lot of repeat business.
100%.
So when did you guys feel like, wow, this is more than we thought it was going to be? This is pretty incredible.
Yeah, so it's one thing to open a small cafe, which was a huge feat for us at the time, and make it actually successful. But I think when we first started seeing our product on the shelves in like bodegas all over the city, places that we used to go, and grocery stores, and seeing like being in a grocery store and seeing somebody else like pick your product off the shelf, I think that was the moment where we were like, whoa, like, this is crazy. Like people that don't know us, that like aren't our parents, aren't our friends,
Didn't come to our cafe,
are like seeing this product, it's speaking to them, and they're actually buying it, and then they're buying it again. So like, I think that was probably the moment that it clicked. Not that the cafe wasn't like crazy. We got a lot of, we helped launch the matcha category. We had like team of like, 8 people from R&D from Starbucks like cruising in to like take notes on all our drinks. They gave me fake business cards at first, saying they were from somewhere else, maybe like some parent company, I don't even know. But we were like, I think that you guys have an angle. Like you're like literally have a notepad, like taking notes on like cinnamon hemp lattes. You're like, what's
15
going on?
hours in coffee shops. You're not going to catch up with a notepad.
Yeah, 100%. And that was crazy, but I think when we took the step to RTD, started seeing pictures of our product in states I've never been to, that was the moment where we were like, okay, we actually did something, and now we have a chance to take it to the next level.
Probably someone to an artist who's like a musician, and they hear the radio, they
100%.
hear their song,
100%.
They're like, whoa.
That's the exact. It's got to be the same exact feeling.
Awesome.
And it was great, and it is great. But we, obviously the hustle's real. We still have a lot of work to do, and our company mission is to bring matcha to the people and spread better energy. At the end of the day, so that that's what we're trying to do.
So what were some of the? I'm sure what you see now didn't just come in the bottle this way. there was probably a lot of sleepless nights, and it was your first business that you guys started, and it happened to click. It doesn't always happen for everybody, but it's probably because you guys just stuck to it and had a mission. What were some of the tougher days? What were some of the challenges, setbacks, things you didn't prepare for that you just hustled through?
Oh yeah, like I think, like I said, it usually takes 3 times more than you can ever project to like actually do what you need to do. That was probably the first. I mean, we had, with our launch and with everything that was going on and the attention we got, it was much easier to then go and convince people to continue to fund us. But there were moments in the beginning where we were like, wait, like, why are our projections not right? And it's because we like were literal about them. We didn't like, project like a buffer of like, 50 to 100% or whatever we needed to do in the beginning. Those were tough nights. Not paying yourself for like a year and like, actually just working behind the bar for like, we opened at 7, closed at 7. Those
How
are like.
did you make it
shifts.
without the income? Did you guys have savings, or did you work other jobs to make it work while you were getting
We had
launched?
some savings. Graham, continued doing his party thing, which was always fun. We actually, in the very beginning, we didn't know Matcha was going to work out, so we actually applied for a liquor license in our space. So we actually were moonlighting and doing like a speakeasy type thing, like a tea house turned like speakeasy at night to like
cool.
help provide some extra income, which was actually, especially on that block. That there were many days during the week that block was more populated between 1 and 4 a.m. than it was between 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. So that was actually like a great supplemental income.
A great perspective.
And because there was like, this is an ancient Japanese tea that we're trying to like popularize for like largely for youth culture, but for the New York market, there was like really no guarantee that it was going to be a success. So we had backup plans.
Have you had any feedback from like the Japanese community, because this was already in their community and you sort of changed the way it was distributed and commercialized it? Has there been good, bad, neutral, no feedback at all?
Well, I think anytime you do something on any stage at all, you do get some negative feedback, and that's completely unavoidable. I mean, LeBron James is the greatest basketball player. He probably attracts the most hate of anybody in the league.
Right.
I'm a big basketball fan.
Me too.
But it's been overwhelmingly positive, basically. And also, you have to understand too that when you go to Tokyo, it's not like there are like hundreds of matcha cafes all over the place serving drinks that are anything like ours. Like, right. Every drink on our menu was like iced matcha latte with vanilla and almond milk. Like, almond milk hasn't been a thing in Japan. My first like really, I think, successful summer drink was matcha watermelon. You don't find those types of things. It's so the Japanese have referred to it as Brooklyn style matcha, which I've always loved. I thought was so cool.
A compliment.
It's the sickest. But it's like, we brought sushi over. We brought, meditation over. Yoga. I mean, there's all these ancient practices that are just amazing products or practices to actually adopt.
And I have a feeling that matcha is going
to
to stick like sushi and like yoga did, because it's good for you. It tastes better than the alternative, and it makes you feel good.
Yeah. And my joke when, people, and it's not actually really even a joke, but when people ask me if I'm worried that matcha's a fad, I'm like, it's existed in other cultures for thousands of years already, and it isn't going anywhere there. And because the energy quality is actually different, and the like really unique way that antioxidants, caffeine, and L-theanine, which is like an amino acid that helps you focus, sort of combine naturally, there's no other thing that does that. And it's sort of, I think it deserves a platform. That's what we tried to give it in the beginning, and then with the bottled and canned drink, and it's here to stay.
Let's talk about company culture. You guys are a family-run business.
Yeah.
You're growing and at exponential proportions. So what's required to grow an organization or a team the way you guys have?
So I think that we, like, the company culture starts with Graham and I, as it does with like any founding partner or founder in general. And the mission of bringing matcha to people, the whole idea is to be inclusive and to make something that, even in Japanese culture, is a little like elite class oriented, very accessible and for the people. And I think that sort of trickles down into company culture pretty much on every level. And even the product, we have good things come to those who hustle right on the front of the can. That was originally something that we wrote up in our office just when it was Graham and I. And that was like our own like internal mantra, until it got to the point where we were like, we gravitate towards this saying so much. Why don't we just like flip it? Instead of this internal thing, why don't we just like put it on the walls in the cafe, put it on the front of the can? Because I think other people will relate to it too. And it's it's under the cap on every bottle as well. And I think that hustle culture is what Matcha Bar stands for, along with the inclusive nature of just truly trying to spread good energy. And that trickles down into how we treat employees, how employees and team members treat us, and how we try to open those doors to our community as well.
That's amazing. What's next for you? Is matcha going to continue to evolve, and do you think you'll spin off something else, or is this your life passion, do you think?
Yeah, so for us, we think matcha and the natural energy spaces is one of the most exciting industries happening right now. The wave of like cleaner eating and cleaner drinking and cleaner living is at an all-time high and has more momentum than ever. And I think matcha is like the perfect energy source for that entire movement, which is just growing demographic-wise. I think, just even if you look at the big natural food and beverage expo that we go to, Expo West, it's a big industry thing. It started as 15 exhibitors in the room. Now it's the biggest food and beverage expo in the entire country. So that just shows you how much excitement is around the industry. Our zero sugar hustle can is now our best-selling SKU by far in the country. And so like doubling down on our energy play is definitely the way that we're going to be taking it into the future. And I think that in a lot of ways, Graham and I are the people to spread this to the country.
And how special is it that you get to build this business with Graham?
Oh, it's the coolest thing ever. I mean, we always tell people our first business venture was a lemonade stand in Massachusetts in the summer when we were visiting our parents when we were like, 3 and 5. I would make the drinks and he would actually chase people down because he was super cute and just shout at them basically until they came and bought lemonade. And it's like pretty much the same thing.
It's the same thing.
I develop all the formulations and recipes. We also do a lot.
And he shouts and brings the party. Yeah.
100%. And it couldn't be more special. Obviously, partnerships on every level come with their dose of trials and tribulations and things you got to work out, but it's so cool to see how our relationship has developed because of this project. And we also work incredibly together, and really fill in the blanks for each other in a really nice yin yang kind of way. A lot of siblings are super similar, and Graham and I have our similarities too, but we're also super different. But we grew up alongside each other, so we sort of have always had this symbiotic, you do this well, I do this well kind of thing. But then to see it actually work on this bigger market, and in building this business, is I don't know if there's anything
incredible,
more special than that,
And it's kind of to be honest, Matcha kind of chose you.
That's kind of how it felt, because there was no guarantee we were gonna, first of all, come up with this idea of trying to get off, Red Bull and coffee and all this stuff by going to tea shops, and then what if we had just gone to a bunch of tea shops and never found matcha at all, Not to mention having a built-in community in New York. There were just all these little factors that when you look back enabled us in a very unique way.
So let's give our listeners here some advice. Those who might be trying to solve a problem and then start something that matters to them near and dear to their heart, and might not just take this step, but you guys did. So talk to the inventor, entrepreneur, person that wants to make the world better, and what advice could you give them?
Yeah, so I think the hardest thing is actually deciding to take the step. So many people, and I think that's like almost half the battle, taking the step and then putting everything into it. I think so many people just are like, it's a really tough risk. And you like read all these statistics like, I don't even know what the number is now, but 40% of storefronts like close within the first year in New York. It's such a competitive market, all this stuff. But if you get into it because you truly want to change the world with it, and not because you think it's like a good opportunity or something, you'll like put in the extra work. It's not going to be a thing where you have to force yourself to like work really hard and it's going to be a super drag, right? You'll actually do it because of why you started it in the first place. And so if you have that thing that like is you're super passionate about, and I know like maybe that's a cliche or something, but it all like goes back to the passion you have for the actual thing itself, and then taking the lead, you know, because even if it doesn't work out, you learn a ton in the process. Like, you know, we had to close our the first cafe we opened in Brooklyn because of landlord stuff. They wanted to build a big condo and knock the whole thing down. We only had a 5-year lease. That was heartbreaking, but what we learned from that, and then we're able to parlay it into the next, that was everything. There's so many learnings that happen in failures too, and you know, like trying something and having not work out is not a failure in my book. It's just like, you know, a crazy and there's so many reasons that could happen. You know, you can it could be a fire and it all burns. You know, like that's an extreme example, but there are like so many factors that are at play that are out of your control, right, that you just have to put yourself in the position to have the chance to succeed. We were really lucky that it like hit on the first try, and we haven't like, you know, maybe we'd be on like, you know, yogurt bar or something like that,
right?
You know, but like, and that's been great, but like I know that you know, we would have taken our experience and tried something else. Yeah, together, separate. You know, it doesn't really matter.
It's all why about, you talk to these entrepreneurial type of people. It's like I'm sure you guys will build this company. Maybe you'll sell it, maybe you won't. But whatever you take from it, there'll be more opportunities down the road for you. Like one guest we had earlier had already sold for companies, but he understands the mechanics of what that build looks like. Yeah, totally. And people will come to you one day and be like, hey, I've got an idea. I want to start a soup bar. And maybe you'll have your business on Matcha running so smoothly that you give them 5% of your time, and now you help them build. 100%. So it's just about the process.
And that's why you see so many serial entrepreneurs also doing consulting or maybe getting into the investment side or whatever they do, because they can actually provide a service, you know, to younger entrepreneurs, like, you know, help them from their learnings. And it's all about just making sure that you have your eyes open the whole time and are like, you might not be literally taking notes, but like you're actually engaged in the learning process. And like, even if you like make a mistake, it's not like, oh, that was a failure, like whatever. Just like look at it, understand like why maybe that decision wasn't the right move or whatever it is. Maybe it seemed good at the time and it just wasn't. And then, you know, take that into the next thing that you do, or the next decision you're making, or whatever it is.
I love the energy. I love the drink. You've got my vote. My entire office is going on matcha. Hell yeah. Making it mandatory.
I love it.
Because they feel as good as I feel right now, they can do anything.
That's what I'm talking about. And that's why our office is such a positive place as well. It all starts with matcha.
Because you drink off of your own fruit.
Mm-hmm.
So,
you know, at the end of the day, like, you know, branding, marketing, all this stuff, the product's still the most important.
It is, making a good product.
And we have a product that really has legs to stand out, and thank God.
Well, I love your passion. I love your hustle. And I love that good things come to those who hustle. You have the hustle. You actually provided me a great service today. by getting us over this hump of a journey that we're on. So thanks for spending some time with us and giving us a peek into your life. Forever thankful for getting to know you, and it's only the beginning. We'll become fast friends. And
Absolutely.
Maximilian, you have the hustle, my friend.
All right, man. Thanks so much.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate it.
To follow our story, check us out at benanderson.365 on Instagram and stay tuned for our next honored guest.